content presented in this podcast is based on real events and may contain graphic descriptions of violence, sensitive topics, and explicit language that may be triggering, offensive, or sensitive subjects to some viewers and listeners. Discretion is advised. The purpose of this podcast is to explore and discuss true crime cases for entertainment and educational purposes only. This podcast does not intend to glorify or sensationalize crime, but rather aims to analyze and understand the complexities of human behavior in the criminal justice system. We encourage listeners to approach this content with empathy, critical thinking, respect for the victims and their families.
What is it about a bad boy that some women just can't resist? We're not talking about a rebel without a cause on a motorcycle or a guy who skips history class to go smoke out behind the school gym. No, this is something much darker, much more dangerous. I'm talking about women who seek out relationships with convicted serial killers and murderers. Men locked away for crimes so heinous they would send shivers down your spine. Yet, behind those prison bars, they receive love letters, marriage proposals, and even an unwavering devotion. Why? What drives these women to romanticize the most feared men in society? Is it the thrill of the danger, the twisted idea of reforming a monster, or something even more unsettling? Tonight, we're opening this heart shaped box of psychology and scrutinizing these prison love affairs and the women who chase these ultimate bad boys. So buckle up. It's about to get disturbing. It's time to start the show. Let's hit it.
Hey y'all, it's Winnie from Mysteries, Mayhem Merlot. I got a couple announcements that I forgot to put in the podcast, but I just wanted to pop in and let you guys know. I am super excited to let you guys know that we have some merch now. Yes, we have Mysteries, Mayhem Merlot merch. The link will be in today's description. And also you can just go to my website at mysteriesmayhemmerlot.net and there is a merch tab at the top. Another quick thing about my live videos. Sometimes I'm not home to play my video live. Sometimes I am. So, if I am home, I'll run it live. It'll play like it always does on Dave's social media, but it will always be up on Dave's YouTube channel and my YouTube channel every Sunday by 9 p.m. Central. And I'm urging you guys, please subscribe to my YouTube channel at mysteriesmayhemmerlot.net because that's going to help me grow my audience and grow the podcast as well. So if you guys can, share it with your friends, tell people about it, have them subscribe, and get that notification so every time I pop up a video, you guys will get notified, especially when it comes to like YouTube shorts and things like that, that don't play live. That way you get alerted and you can watch them as well. I thank you guys so much for all the support you have given me. It's been fantastic, along with my tarot card reading. So, everything's kind of growing for me and I'm really enjoying it. So, thank you guys so much. Please go check out the merch in the merch store. And if you guys have any ideas for some merch, let me know and maybe I can get it made for you. So, thank you guys and I hope you liked the episode.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of Mysteries, Mayhem, Merlot. I am your host, Winnie Schrader, and yes, I am back in the seat. Last 2 weeks, Dave and I have been gallivanting in South America. We went to the Dominican Republic on the Jericho cruise, and we just got back from Cancun, which was a fantastic, relaxing vacation that I feel recharged and ready to rock and roll. But I tell you, if you haven't been to Cancun, go. It's beautiful, the beaches, everything. And we got to have like a big Super Bowl party at a resort, and we had just a blast. And they knew how to put on a Super Bowl party. They had chicken wings, hot dogs, hamburgers. They they went all out, and I thank so much for the resort and the Mexican people, for making my visit wonderful. But anywho, now that we're in February, it's the month of love. I know it's Black History Month too, which we will cover that, but, nothing is sweeter than that brand new love, right? That honeymoon phase where every time you're together, you get those butterfly flutters in your stomach, and you're always your cheeks are just hurting from smiling ear to ear out of indulgence of happiness with your new love. But what if those loves and relationships didn't start off in the traditional way? Like, why are women, like, drawn to the bad boy image? I'm guilty of it myself. But, uh, you know, these men are not just bad boys. I mean, these guys are straight up serial killers and murderers, and it's like, why are these women so attracted to them? It's not like swiping left or right on Tinder here. I mean, these are high profile criminals, serial killers, so I wanted to bring an expert on to kind of discuss the psychology of what the hell is wrong with these women because I don't get it. So I have none other than America's psychiatrist, Dr. Carole Lieberman, who is a board certified psychiatrist who has made many TV appearances on CNN, BBC, Fox News, BBC, I already mentioned BBC, The Today Show, and more. And I wanted her to come on and help us figure out this thought process because, like I said, I don't get it. But I'd like to welcome Carole to the show. Welcome to the show, Carole.
Thank you so much, Winnie.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, looking at well, for instance, the Menendez brothers, like we mentioned before, and Luigi Mangione, these guys
Well,
are considered.
well,
Oh, go ahead.
I just want to put something in first because so when I talk about bad boys, I'm not just talking. I mean, my book, that was my first book, Bad Boys: Why We Love
Hmm.
Them, How to Live with Them, and When to Leave Them.
Hmm.
And I talk about 12 different types of bad boys, and the lethal lovers are the murderers, are the ones who are in prison. Okay.
Yeah.
So there are other kinds of bad boys that women fall in love with too, and I can give you some examples, but all of them have to do with the relationship that the little girl, growing up, has with her father.
Hmm.
Depending upon how dysfunctional it is, in what way it's dysfunctional, that will determine what kind of bad boy the girl will be attracted to.
Okay. And okay, so is that why these women having like a horrible father or whatever type of family dynamic they have, if it felt bad for them as a child, why would they seek that out in a relationship as an adult? To me, I don't understand that psychology of it.
Okay. Well, it's not some of the women, you've always heard, sometimes you say like about a friend or something, she married her father, So
Mhm.
sometimes it is being attracted to someone who is like your father. Sometimes it's being attracted to someone who is the exact opposite of your father. And sometimes it's something in between, some other kind of connection. But it boils down to, um, the dysfunctional relationship with her father has to do with the father making the little girl feel unlovable. Now,
Mhm.
on one extreme is the lethal lover, the killers. On the other extreme is the frazzled frog. I named them after fairy tales. I start each chapter off with a fairy tale related to that illustrates the kind of relationship, the kind of bad boy, and then the kind of relationship that you would have with that type.
Mhm.
So so the opposite of the lethal lover is a frazzled frog, and that's like from the Princess and the Frog.
Mhm.
And a frazzled frog, or a fixer upper lover, is a guy who doesn't have his life together.
Okay.
So, no matter what age he is, he kind of is still like, he still hasn't gotten out of the tadpole stage. He still
Yeah.
hasn't gotten out of the kid who doesn't really know what he wants to do, or hasn't gotten his career going, or, and maybe he has an addiction, like he's an alcoholic, some kind of a life hasn't started, in a good way
Yeah.
kind of guy. And so Now, what kind of woman? First of all, the mothers of bad boys are what makes the bad boys bad boys. So, like a frazzled
Mhm.
frog has had a mother who was not very nurturing. Okay.
Okay.
That's why he doesn't have his life together. Now, the girlfriend, the women who are attracted to the bad boy type of the frazzled frog, is someone who has had a father who was not there. Now, the father was either a workaholic or he had died, sometime during the girl's growing up, or he just wasn't emotionally there. And typically, this is actually the most typical kind of bad boy relationship because of all the divorces that there are. And so when the parents divorce and the father goes off and has another girlfriend or even marries someone and maybe even has children with another woman, he's not as available. He's the girl feels abandoned by him.
Okay.
But at what age? And so she is looking for a man who she thinks is least likely to abandon her. Okay.
Okay.
So the frazzled frog who doesn't have his life together, who needs mothering, is the most likely, she feels, she senses, oh, he really needs me, man. Without me, straightening up his house, cooking for him, helping him with his job, giving him advice, all these kinds of things, helping him, pick the right clothes, just all these kinds of things. Without me, he'd be lost. Now,
Right.
the only problem with that theory is that when she fixes him up, then he gets a better job or he gets his life together in various ways, then he hops away and he finds a woman who wouldn't have liked him as the frazzled frog, but now likes him with this man. He has his life together. So, and all bad boys, what makes them bad boys, all the different types, is that they're heartbreakers. So with all of these stories, in the end, the woman is left heartbroken.
Mm-hmm. Wow. And it's, you don't think of all the complexities that shape you throughout life and how it interacts with all these type of relationships. And it's like, these type of relationships are very codependent. It's like they're depending on somebody else's behavior on what, how they're going to be and how they're going to feel. But like now, when women start seeking out these type of men that are in prison for murder, violent criminals, what is kind of the first icebreaker, I guess? Do these women just randomly write these people? I mean, I just don't understand like how these women are specifically picking out these guys and then trying to start up relationships with them while they're in prison.
Well, yes. Typically they find out, what prison he's at, and they start to write to him. I mean, like Koberger, for example, he wasn't in jail, first it's jail, of course, before prison. So he wasn't in jail very long before he started getting love letters. And all of them, I mean, really all of them, the women today are choosing between, I mean, there are lots of lethal lovers in prison. There's a lot to choose from. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, take your pick.
But these days, the three most most well known and most attractive in a sense are well, first of all, the Menendez brothers. They have been for a long time ones that women write to and so on. And then Brian Koberger, and then Luigi Mangione. And they each have their benefits and pitfalls.
Right.
But also I want to mention there's also some prisons. This isn't the majority, but in some prisons and some situations, like if a prisoner is well behaved, or it's different criteria. But some prisons allow the men to put like ads, in it used to be in newspapers, And I guess it still is to some degree, but some guys, they allow some guys to put ads, I guess on dating apps too. So, which is surprising. But I found this out. I didn't, the prisoners that I know of, because I go to prison a lot for, as an expert witness, for the defense. I have to interview these guys. So, I just the other day, I wanted to see, there was a man in New York who was in jail, and his crime, he was convicted of raping some woman, having the mother of a child. He was convicted of like having a relationship with her, so of course including sex. It wasn't exactly rape, but anyhow, what happened was the woman then got angry at him. It was a consensual relationship until the woman got angry at him for some reason, and then she claimed it was rape. And I was the expert on that case, and it didn't go to trial per se yet. Like, I never testified yet, but I wrote a report, and so this is a number of years ago. And so I wanted to see what the status is with this guy. He has lots of appeals going. It really wasn't fair. The truth didn't really come out. They didn't believe him that they had a real relationship and so on. So anyhow, so I wanted to check up on him. And sure enough, so I Googled him. And sure enough, there's an article about how he and some other prisoner from his prison are on a dating app. And so, I guess some prisons do allow, and it's kind of interesting because here they're allowing a rapist to be on a dating app. He wasn't he didn't just steal, he wasn't in jail for theft. This was a rapist. I mean, according to he really wasn't, but I mean, according to what he was convicted for. But anyhow, and so they're allowing rapists, so-called rapists, to be on these dating apps. So that should be a word to the wise, and I'm not going to give his name, but that should be a word to the wise. This was in New York. There are lots of guys in New York apparently who are on these apps, so that's not going to give it away.
Well, what do they put in their bio? What's your location? Alcatraz? I mean, come on. It's like, common sense. Yeah, and
where do you want to meet for a date?
Right. I'll meet you in the commissary. I mean, come on. It's just like, and now do these when they're able to do these, and if they're on good behavior, are they able to have like conjugal visits with these women? Or, I mean, is that kind of like
depends. That also depends. Because like, for example, with the Menendez brothers, let's talk about the Menendez brothers. They were very hot, but their trials were in the 1980s. I believe it was 1989, something like that. And so they were much younger and much hotter. But it's not just about how hot the guy is that attracts women to these lethal lovers. I mean, yes, of course, that certainly helps. Like, I mean, Luigi Mangione has a step up because he's so cool. That gives him extra points. And also it gives him extra points because a lot of people agree with what he did, that he killed someone who was a CEO of a health insurance firm. And a lot of people have had experience, either themselves or their friends or their family, with not getting care covered by health insurance companies.
Oh, girl, I could go on for hours.
Yes.
I could go on for hours about it, but yeah.
So that really, gives him, so a lot of people are, like, yay, you did the right thing and we support you, and plus you're cute. Plus you're cute.
Yeah, I know, right? That helps. Well, and I'm sure it's probably, it's that power grab that, women, I don't know if it's just kind of that basic human instinct that we have, that we want something that's going to make us feel secure and safe. And, when we see men kind of take matters into their own hands, whether it's good or bad, it's probably that's what's the pull.
Yes, that's a big part of it. I describe it as these are men, these killers are like men, are like lions walking around a village.
Mhm.
And the villagers are scared of this lion. And if you can be the one to tame the lion, if you can be the one to take the thorn out of the lion's paw, then you become the most powerful woman, the most powerful person in this village.
Mhm.
Not no longer the lion, but it's you, because you're even stronger, you're even tougher. You dared to go in there to the lion and take his thorn out. So that's a big part of
Mhm.
it. And similarly, celebrity has a lot to do with it,
Oh, yeah.
because you've seen all the different killers or criminals of different types, but especially killers.
Mhm.
When they marry somebody, that's all over People Magazine. It's all over the media, everywhere, internationally.
Right. Mhm.
And so you get to be famous automatically right away if he picks you. Now, the thing that these women don't realize, however, this is the flaw and this is the heartbreak.
Mhm.
Um, Somehow women think when the man writes back to them and so on, and if they are allowed visits, they are allowed visits if the men put them on their visitors list. Not all
Mhm.
prisoners, though, are allowed conjugal visits, but you can visit. And so when these women think, if the men write back to them and if the men let them visit, put them on their visitors list and all of that, that they are the one and only love of this lethal lover. And
Right.
the heartbreak
Mhm.
comes when they see that there are actually, you're not the only one who he is writing to and having visit him. And
Yeah.
that's when the heartbreak comes. That's when the shock comes. What? You have somebody else too? Because
Right.
part of what they like is the fact that the men are in jail and they can't just go out to bars or out to other kinds of places where they're going to meet other women. So that's why it's kind of a shock. And I'll never
Yeah.
forget one time when I was on Sally Jesse Raphael, her talk show, the topic was women who love killers in jail or prison.
Right.
And
Yeah.
there were two women who were both in love with the same man and who thought that they were going to marry him. And
God.
when they came on the show, that's the first time that they came face to face with each other or even knew about each other. And so they started to brawl. you know,
It's like a Jerry Springer episode.
it was like that. What do you mean you have somebody else? She had the man in like via Zoom or some other kind of camera situation, so that he could be like on stage. And so the women were like, "What? You have something? So you were also saying you were going to marry somebody else?" Now, Richard Ramirez, he was the Night Stalker, and he was a serial killer, as I'm sure you know. And the women
Mhm.
were so shocked that like he would have two-timed them. Here he is, a serial killer, raping and murdering a series of women, and they're shocked that he would lie to them. I mean,
I
it's like
know. I hear
worse than
you.
lie.
The psychology of it is so bizarre. Well, we got to take a quick break, but when we come back, there is one lady I do really want to talk about, and that's Carole Ann Boone. If you don't know who Carole Ann Boone is, she was kind of Ted Bundy's. Was she labeled his girlfriend? I know she helped him with his case, but she was just all over Ted and like tried to get it, believe that he was innocent and all this stuff. But I definitely want to talk about her because she
Okay.
seems to tipping that edge. But we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back.
A new year is here, and with Valentine's Day just around the corner, it's the perfect time to look ahead. Whether you're thinking about love, a new career path, a move, or even an investment, wouldn't it be amazing to know what messages the universe or the other side have in store for you? Well, that's where Love and Lotus Tarot with Winnie Schrader comes in. Winnie's intuitive readings can help you gain the clarity and guidance you need to carve out a new path. Life is hard enough, my friends. Why not let the cards light the way? Readings are available by phone or live video stream, so you can connect with Winnie wherever you are. And right now, we've got a deal just for you. All readings just 20% off. Use code LOVELOTUS2030 for a 30-minute session. Use code LOVELOTUS2060 for a 60-minute session, and you will save 20% off. Use the code words at checkout to receive that discount. You can book between now and March 1st, 2025 to get the special discount. Don't wait. Visit paranormal60.com. Click on the Love and Lotus tab to book your session today. Discover what the cards have to say and step into your best year yet with Love and Lotus Tarot with Winnie Schrader.
Okay, and we're back. I have Dr. Carole Lieberman. She has written 2 books now, Bad Boys, How We Love Them, How to Live with Them, and When to Leave Them, and Bad Girls, Why Men Love Them, and How Good Girls Can Learn Their Secrets. And I'll have links for that in today's description as well. Before the break, we were kind of alluding to, these girlfriends, these groupies that hang around and glob onto these serial killers. And like one that I know that was kind of like, I don't know if she was psychotic or not, but that was Carole Ann Boone, who, when Ted Bundy was going through trial, and he was his own attorney, so she helped him prepare his case. But she was, I don't know what was going on with her, because she seemed like she was just kind of out there. And I almost feel like if she would have had a relationship with Ted Bundy outside of prison, I almost feel like she could be an accomplice or compliant with it. I don't know. That's just the vibe I get off of her. But what do you think about Carole Ann Boone and women like that glob on? And I don't know. I don't understand the attraction, but
Well,
can you give a little insight?
that's part of the attraction too of bad boys in general, that women feel as though they see the little boy inside the bad boy, and they feel like they can fix him. That's the whole thing. It's like women marry men to fix them, to change them, and men marry women hoping they will never change. And so she was trying to, she felt, of course she wanted him to be acquitted so that she could be with him in real life. And so also she felt that if she helped him to get acquitted, that then he would be dependent upon on her forever. Now, none of these women believe that the serial killer, or even a man who killed just one person, they don't believe that they would be in danger from this man if the man got out and they could be with them. They don't, in other words, they don't think that the man would hurt them. They're different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, again, and one thing I've noticed too, because being a teenager and being in a very severe abusive relationship, one thing I've kind of learned, especially with men, is how they treat their mother.
Yes,
Probably going to be very similar to how they're going to treat you. So that's kind of a key to know what because when you think of bad boy, you always kind of think of motorcycles and leather jackets and James Dean and that kind of stuff.
right.
But these bad boys, they're not bad boys. They're evil. I mean, they're just horrible people.
Well, I tell the women, in regard to all types of bad boys, that, or just not even bad boys, women who are going out on dates, the first thing, or early in the relationship, the most important question that you should find out, you might not have to ask it directly. You can sort of ask other questions, that get to it, but you want to find out how the man thinks of his mother, treats his mother, how often he sees his mother, that kind of thing. Because yes, since I was saying before about how what determines whether a guy is going to be a bad boy is his mother. So like, for example, if she doesn't give him enough nurturing, or if she's very controlling, or like mothers who are, when there's a divorce and the mother makes the boy become the man of the house, when he's like 5 years old.
Mhm.
It's all different ways that mothers can treat their sons growing up. And so you need to find that out. The sooner you find that out, the better you can make a decision as to whether to stay with this guy or not. Now, not, obviously, obviously a man in prison who's a serial killer, you kind of know he couldn't have treated his mother well. Because
Right.
why do these guys strangle these women, kill these women? They're killing their mother. So you don't have to
Right.
ask.
I know. In every face that they murder women, and it's just, oh my God, it's just, I just don't understand. Like, if that's the reason why, he is the way he is, you can't fix that. You're not his mom. And oh my gosh, it's so maddening to know that these serial killers, I mean, dating sites, really? I mean, um, the psychology of it, I get the bad boy image. I'm attracted to it. But I'm more of like, I can't think of the word, but I'm very blunt and straightforward, and I like that in men. And I feel
Yeah.
like that's kind of like a bad boy for me. But the only way I would be writing any type of prisoner is to get information for my show. I definitely would not want to start a relationship. And I know like Richard Ramirez had groupie Charlie Manson. I mean,
Yes.
and it's strange though, because Charlie, he was put away in prison. He never, well, we don't know if he's murdered people. I'm sure he has, but he was he did not murder anybody during those killings. He was kind of like the ringleader. But like these women, they were just following him like he was a savior and doing his bidding. And I feel like these women who are reaching out to these guys, it's almost like they want to get in. It's like a Bonnie and Clyde thing. It's the only way I could,
Sometimes, yes, some of these women do, do want to experience the outlaw life. Yes, that is part of
yeah.
it.
Wow. I mean, that's to me. It's just no. I don't need the drama. Yeah, you could stay in prison, but yeah, I just that psychology of it. It's just baffling to me because, especially being a woman and a nurturer, I don't want. I don't want to bring stuff, that kind of junk into my life, and I can't understand. And maybe these women are very lonely. They probably
Well,
have.
yes, it is. I mean, it's not typically the women who fall for these lethal lovers, are not typically the popular women. They're not. They don't have a million men trying to date them, or they don't have a lot of other choices. And or they did have relationships. They have had relationships, but then let's say the man cheated on them, and that brings that's why that aspect of thinking that the man is not going to be going anywhere where he can meet women is appealing to
Right.
them.
Yeah, I suppose.
So a lot of these women have had their hearts broken already by bad boys, maybe not once in prison, but other bad boys. And so they, they build up a tolerance for it, but they think that this one is going to be different. They always think the next one is going to be different. But, one lethal lover in prison who's interesting in a different way is Brian Kohberger. Now, Brian Kohberger, I, by the way, told the police, I told the media, and presumably I got back to the police before they caught Brian Kohberger, before they knew it was Brian Kohberger, before they got the DNA and tested it and figured out who his father was and all that, before they were led to him. I said that the killer is an incel. And the reason why I said that is because the things that we did know about the crime was that, first of all, it was incredibly bloody. The investigators who went there said they hadn't seen such a bloody crime before. And the second part was that these were beautiful women, beautiful, all four of them were beautiful, handsome, popular, had their act together, were going somewhere in life. They were, doing well in their classes and everything. They were people who Brian Koberger felt would never agree to go out with him. Now, incels are guys. Let me just back up in case, to make sure that everybody knows what an incel is. An incel is a guy who has been hurt time and time again. From the time, in Brian Koberger's case, it was from the time he was in middle school, and he had this crush on a girl who looked very much like Kaylee Gonsalves, and she rejected him, and she kind of made fun of him, like, what, he wrote her a note, a love letter kind of thing. And she was just like appalled. You think I'm going to be your girlfriend? And so she really, hurt his feelings, to say the least. She crushed him. This was his the first time that he sort of made an overture to a woman to have a girlfriend. And then I think she was a cheerleader, and she told the other cheerleaders, and and then they were in high school together, and it kind of went from bad to worse. And it got him to feel like no woman who was cute or who was popular or a cheerleader or, any woman like that would ever go out with him. And, and he tried in high school, he tried other women too, they weren't all cheerleaders, but he was getting rejected time and time again from all the women who he tried to date. And so he obviously developed he probably had low self-esteem to begin with, but this made it worse and worse and worse. And incels, because they've had these bad experiences for years, never really found a woman who wanted to go out with them, who wanted to sleep with them, who wanted to marry them, any of this. They develop a rage towards women, and especially women who are very attractive. And so this rage develops over the years. And so that is why I thought in this particular crime scene with these, gorgeous girls. Oh, and the men they also hate the men who do get the women who are attractive and who, hot and all that. Yeah, yes, they're very jealous of these men, which is why the man who was there with one of them was also killed. Well, I mean, he was killed because he was there, and Koberger didn't want any witnesses. But also, they do hate these men who are with the women who the incel wants to date. So. So it was two things. It was the blood, how bloody it was, which showed rage, and also a knife, which shows that it's an intimate kind of crime. You will, get up close and personal, and you enjoy the, feeling the knife going through her body, and also the bloodiness of it, and also the choice of victim. So that's how I knew that. And yes, it turns out that Brian Koberger was an incel. I don't think that he would admit that, but anyway, but what we know about him, the more and more we know about him, the more he fits in that category. And so, so what's ironic is that now that he killed them, he has all these groupies, all these women who are writing to him and so on. And it's so ironic, because the reason why he killed these women, the 4 students, is because he has a lot of rage towards women who wouldn't go out with him. And now he has all these women who want to go out with him. Like, all he had to do was kill somebody. And now all of a sudden, he appears cuter, to them.
Dude, get a makeover. Don't. I mean,
that's cuter, but I mean, he's not super cute, but now he appears super, super cute to them because he did this. He appears much more of much more powerful, much more interesting. Of course, he's a celebrity, so all of these things are drawing women to him.
Right, and it's just like, to know that the person that you're seeking a relationship with literally snuffed out women because he hated them. What makes you think he's not going to do that to you? If he was, you know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't make sense. And with his
Well,
case too, he was kind of a kook to begin with. And I kind of get probably why he didn't have a girlfriend or could date, because he was
yeah,
just socially awkward as well.
right.
But yeah, now that he has the allure of being a killer, now, yeah, it's like slapping on a leather jacket and put him on a
Right.
Harley and say, "Hey, look
That's
at
right.
me." Oh gosh, yeah,
And
and
also, what's ironic is he has this woman attorney. His main attorney is this woman, Ann Taylor, who is attractive, and certainly when she would have been his age, that would have been one of those cheerleaders that he would have gone after, and who would have
right,
rejected him. And now she's working her tush off to get him out of prison.
right, and it's like, how fair is that for? Let's say I'm at high school and some guy comes up to me and asks me on a date, and I politely say no, I have a boyfriend, and he goes off and kills somebody. I mean, what do you do with that? And like, oh, I would feel like, oh gosh, I just
Oh, yes. You mean, yes. You mean the woman and women, the girls then, the middle school and high school girls who rejected him.
and it's just like to put that on somebody and then just to go out and just snuff out life just because you got rejected. That's somebody who needs some really deep psychological therapy.
Yes.
Because that's very extreme to, yeah, being rejected, it sucks, but it's part of life. And obviously he couldn't take it. And the result of him was killing those the co-eds. Were the co-eds? Is that what they called it? The co-ed killers or something like that in the news?
But yeah, they probably also say co-ed killers, except that there was one man, but and he was stalking them too.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So it would where did I see this? Like an article. I was reading an article about him recently. And I was reading the comments, and there were a lot of comments that were like very angry that the article described him as, it was about his DNA, I think, and that the article was like saying that it was his DNA. And so there were all these comments. There are a lot of people who are in his corner, and I think a lot of them are these women, these groupies. But it's so shocking that so many people want to believe that he didn't do it. And I don't have any question. Everybody is innocent until proven guilty, but I think that they're going to do a good job of proving him guilty.
Right. Well, the evidence is there. Having these groupies and all the media and all the fluff that comes along with these trials, these high profile cases and things like that. Now, does this, even though it's not really part of the case, but does this play a part in the courtroom as well? And is it brought up, and could it sway a verdict with all the, media? And you got TikTok people going around saying free the Menendez brothers, they're hot, blah, blah, blah. And Luigi Mangione. It's just like, so I'm just kind of curious.
Well, it can. I don't know that it would sway them that, Brian Koberger, his trial was moved, but that was for a different reason. It was because originally it was very close to where the killings were, and it's a small town and all of that. It's relatively small. Where it was a small distance from where the killings were and all that, and so they got it moved to a different town, still in Idaho, and Mangione, I'm sure, is going to still be in New York because there are a lot of, and Menendez was still in Los Angeles. But, so I don't think it's going to sway the jury as far as knowing that these guys have women who are groupies. Like they just think that the women
Okay.
are crazy. But
Okay.
but like what with Mangione, it's a little different because it's not just women who are groupies of his or who are supporting of him. It's men too, not sexually necessarily, although some of them probably are sexual too. But
I'm sure.
but um but it's being being for what he did, like what I was talking about before, being supporters of what he did because of how horrible how horrible a lot of insurance companies, including United Health. Supposedly United Health, I mean, that this kind of came out afterwards, that United Health is one of the worst as far as
Yep.
denying claims. So there are a lot of people who
Right.
support that. And yes, I'm sure a lot of the potential jurors saw that on television, video of all the people, like people with signs and all that
Yeah.
outside the courthouse saying, I don't, yes, kill all CEOs or of insurance companies,
Right.
or all the different signs that they wrote that supported him. So, I think that might affect them, but also I think even stronger than that is the experiences that the jurors, I mean, they're going to have to really, in the voir dire, the questions that they ask the jurors before they pick the jury, that the lawyers ask the jurors, they're going to have to be super careful to weed out people who they themselves didn't get enough money from an insurance company for some illness that they had, whether it's medical or psychiatric or whatever, where they were
Right.
denied and they had a bad result because of that, or people who had friends and relatives. And, I don't know who you're going to get. I mean, like everybody was either denied
Right.
themselves or had a friend or relative. So I don't know who you're going to get.
Well, with Luigi's case, it is a little different because not only you have like the heartthrob and the groupies and the social media aspect of it, but it's also a political thing and a social issue as well. So it's been a lot of different things going on in that case, and like with the Menendez brothers. Now, the whole purpose of everything bubbling up is the topic of child abuse and
Right.
sexual abuse. But does that justify them brutally tearing apart their parents with a shotgun? You know what I mean? So it's
Yes.
like, did they kill their parents because of the abuse? Or are they using the abuse to justify the killing of their parents?
Well, that has to be more clarified if they do get a retrial. That would be where their new lawyers would have to double down and really be more clear, present more evidence of the fact that it was because of the abuse, rather than the father wanted to kick them off the will. So rather than it being that it was, and it didn't really come out well. It wasn't really clear enough in their first trials. I mean, the abuse did come up, but first of all, that was years ago when people weren't as aware of the impact of abuse, and I think that the lawyers didn't do enough to prove that it was really that, not just that they were so upset about the will. But in the second trial, the judge wouldn't let one of the attorneys, at least, they wouldn't let them go into the sexual abuse. The attorneys for the brothers, the judge wouldn't let them go into, especially with one of the attorneys, who was really good and she was trying to do a good job. But he wouldn't let her go into some of these things. He wouldn't let her talk about these things.
Right.
So I think there was some unfairness in their second trials.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I believe so too. Because they kind of squashed anything and everything that was in the first trial and just basically went on the basics of evidence. The gun and the timing. I mean, it was very factual with that second case, and they just kind of swept all the abuse stuff under the rug. But that might be why too. A lot of these younger younger kids, the TikTok generation, social media, they're globbing onto these guys, saying they're heartthrobs, but they're also trying to maybe get involved in some type of movement or something,
Mhm.
for justice, because that's kind of a huge thing right now. Is right now in Minnesota, since marijuana became recreationally legal, now they've expunged people in jail right now that are in there for marijuana crimes. So now they're
Mm.
getting, so it's like these social aspects are kind of filtering in when it comes to these big
Uh-huh.
profile cases and issues that we're facing. But yeah, just the aspect, late girls, especially young women, stay away from them. If you want to socially, but don't seek these people out, because they're not, I'm sorry, I could not sit in a room and feel comfortable with Lyle or Eric Menendez. I
Well,
just couldn't. It
Lyle
just
is
wouldn't
worse
be.
than Eric. I kind of feel, when this whole thing came up again because of Netflix, and I watched the
Okay.
two Netflix shows. You must have also.
Oh yeah,
Um,
I do.
I thought they were really good. Um,
Yeah.
I like the dramatic one better than the documentary one, um,
Yeah.
but anyhow, and so that's why people got, when they saw that, lots of people got very sympathetic towards them, and oh my God, what are they still doing in jail? Look at what happened to them. Um,
Yeah.
and the district attorney, the LA County district attorney, was going through an election at that time, and so
Yeah.
people started calling him. The general public started calling him and saying, get out, get these Menendez brothers out. And so he wanted to get votes. And so he realized that, well, if I do something to try to help the Menendez brothers get out, I'm going to get extra votes. And so in the end, so he did a press conference and all of that. And even though there were some people in his office, he admitted that not everybody agreed with him to try to get a retrial for them. But anyway, he brought that up, that if he is elected, he's going to get them a retrial, blah, blah, blah. And so, but he lost anyway, because he was a horrible
Yeah.
DA, nothing to do with the Menendez brothers. He just let everybody out,
I know.
So he lost. And now the new one is taking his time in looking over everything, all the different trials and all of that for the Menendez brothers. And he's going to make a decision whether to try to give them a retrial or change their sentencing or something. So we have to wait for that. But in the meantime, I'm sure you saw in these Netflix shows that really it was Lyle who was much more of a sociopath than Eric.
Yeah.
Eric just looked up to Lyle, and he followed Lyle. Lyle was the one whose idea it was to kill their parents. And
Uh-huh.
and Eric, it was Eric who told Lyle, like their father said, if you ever tell anybody what I do to you, I'm going to kill you. Okay.
Yep.
So Eric told Lyle. Well, he was telling his brother. He wasn't telling the police, but but anyway, when the father found out, he was outraged. And so there's something there, but then when they were in jail, Lyle was calling people to try to get them to lie for him at the trial.
I know.
And didn't do any of that. So, I would say keep Lyle in for another X number of years and let Eric out.
I know. It's almost like Eric was just in the wrong place at the wrong time in the wrong family. It's like, and it's almost like he followed Lyle like a lost puppy. Like he just, Lyle, yeah. And another thing too, and like I don't understand why these TikTok generation kids don't realize he was sitting there from prison talking to a woman to write a book, and everything he said, she recorded it and wrote her own book. And he was even telling her how he can cry in front of the jury to make them seem more believable and things like that. So that to me kind of, you're walking a thin line of you just straight up blew up your parents for no reason. You know what I mean? Like it's just,
Yes, yes.
And now,
No,
if the abuse happened, I understand, but it doesn't, to me, it doesn't justify brutally murdering your parents. I mean, and he went back in there and took the shotgun up to his mother's face and blew her face off. That's rape.
yes.
So
Well,
there's
you
definitely
know, one
something
thing
there.
though that yes, but one thing that people don't realize who are abused, let's say by their father or an uncle or something like that,
Mhm.
they are most people who have been sexually abused are equally furious at their mothers, as assuming it was their father or a man who abused them, as they are
Yeah,
towards the perpetrator, the actual abuser, because their mother didn't protect them. And this mother, their mother, the Menendez brothers' mother, knew about the abuse and she did nothing because she wanted to
right.
keep living her Beverly Hills lifestyle. So, of course, they're going to be
Yeah.
furious at her.
Mhm. Yeah, and it's just, the whole Menendez case, it's very convoluted, but, I've urged my listeners and people, like, when you do this research before you, and I tell my kids this, before you start going out and publicly making a statement or a stand, do your research first. Because it's just, I mean, I get why. Honestly, yeah, if Eric were to get out, I mean, even though Lyle can stay in prison for all I care, but um, I would be okay with them. I felt like time was served, especially if abuse was there, because
Yes,
it just, I feel like they could maybe
yes.
potentially have a decent life outside of prison. I don't think that they would go back and murder anybody, but I just don't see why people putting these type of criminals up on a pedestal. And I just got done watching
Yes.
the O.J. Simpson thing, the new documentary on Netflix as well. And the people that were globbing onto OJ, and pretty much all the evidence pointed to him. And his agent said, now this is, this could be considered hearsay, but his agent said he asked OJ when he was acquitted. He asked OJ what happened that night. And OJ reluctantly, kind of like, and then finally he said, if Nicole wouldn't have answered the door with a knife, she'd still be alive. That's what
If she would, if she would have or she wouldn't have.
if she wouldn't have had a knife when she answered the door,
Oh,
she would still be alive.
that's
So yeah, and it's just like those little pieces, and it's like some of these people that glob onto these high profile criminals and
yeah,
murderers and serial killers, they're
yeah.
not really looking into it. It's almost like it's just like a Hallmark card for them, and they're
Well,
not really looking at the crux of the issue.
yes. I have OJ in my Bad Boys book, The Prince of Darkness. That's the chapter that OJ is in. And I
Okay.
talk about that like he wasn't a serial killer,
Yeah.
but I talk about how like women with abusive men who are abusive who they date, um, well, that they really have to be, that they have to be careful, of course, but that they that the time, like the thing with Nicole was that night that he came and killed her. I wonder, I haven't seen the Netflix, but when the OJ trial was going on, I did a lot of commentary as an expert witness, and and Nicole, the night of the killing, they went to a ballet recital of their
Mhm.
daughter, and she acted towards very cold towards OJ,
Yeah.
and you could see. I'd be interested to see how this is shown in the movie, but OJ could tell, like he kept trying to get back with her. He kept getting back with her millions of times over their relationship. Like he'd be abusive or do something bad, and she would say, "I don't want to see you anymore," and then he would win her back. And so he
Yep.
kept thinking he was going to win her back this time too. But he could tell that night there was something different about her, that she really meant it that night. And that is what sent him over the edge. Do they show that in the
Yeah.
movie?
Yeah, I mean, basically, and a lot of the people that were around OJ, like Ron Ship, the former police
On
officer, I believe his name is Ron
no,
Ship. He he was very close, and he even talked to Nicole about the abuse. She came to him, and it's like, you got to talk to OJ. But that night at the ballet recital, and then they went to I think the Mezzaluna restaurant,
Right.
and they told OJ, "You're not invited," and that probably sent him over the edge. And what they did in the documentary, it's called OJ Manhunt, I believe. Um, they really emphasized that OJ, that moment, he lost control, and he didn't like to lose control, and that
Right.
he realized that Nicole has moved on, and
Yes, exactly.
he couldn't fathom, he couldn't live with that.
Right.
So,
Oh, good. I'm glad they said that. Okay, good.
yeah, they do. They do. They really did a good job. I highly recommend it to you guys. If you really want to get in the crux of the O.J. Simpson case, watch that documentary, because there was evidence that was never logged that should have been. I mean, it was maddening how this case was so botched, and he got off scot free of murdering 2 people. And
Well, did it show what was I going to say? Did it show also, did it spend some time on Ron Goldman too?
Oh, yes, they did talk about Ron Goldman. Kim Goldman's in the documentary. I mean, it's a very well-rounded,
Oh, good.
a lot of people in OJ's life, and, OJ was surrounded by a lot of yes men. They
Mhm.
never questioned his behavior, and, obviously, he lost his cool, and the result of 2 people were brutally murdered.
Did,
And go ahead.
did it show also his relationship with his mother?
Yeah, touch base on Eunice. Her name's Eunice, right? Eunice.
I think so. Well, the thing with her mother, and I talk about this in my book, um,
Okay.
and the thing with all princes of darkness, all men who are abusive, it's that their mother um, was did not like their mother abandoned them. And when they feel that their woman, their date, their girlfriend is going to abandon them, that's why that flips their switch. That
Yeah.
Because it unconsciously reminds them of their mother who abandoned them. Now, OJ's mother, um, he had a sibling born like within a year of his being born, and so she removed him at the breast and put this new little baby there. So that's one way that she abandoned him. Another way was that his parents got divorced, and she had to take an extra job. So she was like working all the time and she wasn't around him. So that's why, in his case, when Nicole, started showing him more and more that no, she wasn't coming back, that's what flipped his switch. Not that anything.
Yeah, he didn't want.
Not that
Yeah,
anything is a good excuse.
Yeah, it was just because he didn't want to be replaced. Just like you said with his brother, his
Exactly.
mom replaced him with his brother, and that probably gave that sense of, well, what the heck? That's ain't fair. I still got to eat too. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much, Carole,
I
for
know we
coming
could talk forever, but we kind of have to.
Okay, I'll definitely have to have you back on for sure. But you wrote the two books, Bad Girls. We may have to have you on for Bad Girls. Why Men Love Them, How Good Girls Learn Their Secrets, and Bad Boys, and How We Love Them, How We Live with Them, and when to leave them. I'll have those links in today's description. And you have a website, is that correct?
I have lots of websites. I have an expert witness website, expert witness forensic psychiatrist.com.
Okay, perfect. I'll have a link for that in today's description as well. Well, thank you so much, Carole, for this insight. Because I know it's the month of love, but this ain't the love that you. This
Yes,
ain't the love that you need.
that's right. Some women feel very desperate when Valentine's Day comes around to have somebody,
Yeah, have a
Well,
Valentine's Day. Find your girlfriends. Go have some fun. You guys so much. This was a great episode. I'm glad to be back. And we're going to be sometime this month. I'm not sure exactly when, but we are going to touch base on Black History Month since it's the month of February. And there's a lot of things in Black history that, well, you'd kind of be a little bit upset about, when it comes to the criminal justice system. So we're definitely going to talk to that. I'm going to have Reverend Tim Christopher on to discuss possible some cases where people were put away for 18 years and they were completely innocent, but they didn't have a fair shake. They didn't have a fair shot. They didn't have the money for a good defense. They had court appointed attorneys. So I'm looking forward to that episode. Thank you guys so much, and I hope to see you all next week.
Thank you for joining me for another episode of Mysteries, Mayhem, and Merlot. And until our next case, my armchair detectives, stay safe, stay vigilant, and stay aware. I'll see you right here next week on Mysteries, Mayhem, and Merlot.